In several countries, poverty rates have stagnated or they've even increased over the past decade. And in other countries, poverty remains not just a marginal issue, but it's the lived experience of the majority of the population. This course examines not only why poverty persists, but more importantly, how to enable sustained pathways out of poverty. Poverty sits at the core of today's global development challenges. It is shaped and shapes conflict, climate-related disasters, food insecurity, displacement, and governance challenges. Poverty, inequality, and vulnerability really do remain amongst the most urgent global development challenges. So if you really want to learn, understand, and address these challenges, you must understand and address poverty and vulnerability. And this course on the MA in Poverty, Policy, and Development Practice enables you to do exactly that. The focus of this course is on theory, policy, and practice to reduce poverty, to reduce inequalities, and to reduce vulnerability as well. So in doing so, you will learn from world-renowned lecturers at the cutting edge of multi-sectoral development programming, around innovations in social protection programming, around humanitarian responses. You will engage in experiential learning alongside lectures. You'll be assessed in terms of a diverse means ranging from policy assessments through to academic essays through to policy and skills practice-oriented presentations as well. In doing all of this, the aim is for you to develop practical applications of carrying out often sustained pieces of multidisciplinary research on poverty, inequality, and vulnerability reduction through various lenses, from economics to politics, from sociology to anthropology, geography, and more. Lecturers undertake innovative research on poverty and inequality reduction. They regularly contribute as well to national and international policy fora on these topics. So in doing so, we bring real-world field insights, real-world evidence on cutting-edge issues. There's also a strong focus in this degree on actionable solutions. So not just the what and the why, but really the how. The focus is, in doing so, on the research, the design, the implementation, and then the assessment of national and international efforts to get to zero poverty. And another key reason to undertake this degree is your peers. You'll experience a collaborative learning environment. You'll develop long-term networks during this degree with like-minded students coming from a diversity of backgrounds and coming with experiences that they bring to bear on related issues around the policy and programming around poverty and vulnerability reduction. So, in our long-term work in Zambia, at the moment I'm leading the development of a climate-resilient poverty reduction plan, which was an ask directly by the Ministry of Community and Development and Social Services, MCDSS in Zambia, in the government. And their ask was for us to come up with relevant targets for poverty reduction in Zambia, a country which has been experiencing stagnating and even recently increases in its urban poverty, for example, and poverty more broadly. So with this poverty reduction plan, with colleagues, I'm developing a set of targets for poverty reduction at national and province levels in Zambia. We're developing a set of intermediate pillars, so thinking not just to the outcomes, but to the processes. How do we achieve those outcomes? Thinking about targets for social inclusion for the country's residents, for aspects to do with environmental sustainability and economic growth, and how these processes can support, ultimately, poverty reduction at a more accelerated pace in Zambia. And in all of this, as mentioned, the Zambian experience speaks quite centrally to this. Our aim is really to ensure this strong link between research, policy, and practice in relation to poverty and vulnerability reductions focused policies and programs. So, for example, during the lecture, some of the information I draw on relates directly to the work that I've been working on in the Chronic Poverty Advisory Network over the last 10 years, and even prior to that, my work on conflict and human development comes to bear in these discussions. During the seminars, we often structure these around experiential forms of learning, so where students identify a set of potential policy or program interventions, and then during the discussions, students have a set of negotiations around what are the ultimate, what the ultimate toolkit for poverty reduction in a specific context or for a specific sector might look like. And then finally, recognizing that different forms of policy analysis and assessments and so forth are skill sets that students can take with them, learned during this course or refined during the MA, but taken forward in their work streams beyond the degree. We quite frequently structure our assessments as well around these types of learning. So in one of the modules I co-convene, the assessment form is not an academic essay, but instead a policy report. In another module that I also convene, the assessment is very much, one of the assessments is around a takeaway assignment focused on assessing the situation of poverty and inequality in a country of their choice. So there's sufficient flexibility for students to focus on contexts that they may seek to learn more about or they want to go deeper into, while learning the tools and the skills necessary for a skills-oriented future trajectory.